guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video, and here we are 1 year on from episode 6 of Generation Q. That's what we're going to talk about today. And as always, just before we get started, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so that you're notified every single time I post a new video. Lots of season 2 news will be coming out soon, so make sure you're notified whenever that drops. And also, if you're subscribed to the channel, you like any of my L Word videos and you comment on any of them, you'll be entered into a draw to win a piece of my merch. And if you want to check out any of the merch and support the channel by purchasing a piece, the link to my store is in the drop down of this video. So we're going to get right into things today. It's Sunday and I just was thinking, I cannot believe it has only been 1 year since I watched this episode, and I feel like it's been about 5 years because this episode, as I've mentioned quite a few times before, this episode is the reason that my channel exists. And prior to that, I think I had 6 videos, maybe like 200 or 300 views for the entire channel, which was from basically my family and friends. And the second that I posted this episode 6 review and the trailer breakdown and some other stuff for episode 7, in one day I got like 30,000 views or something. So it was kind of crazy, and I also really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even have a microphone. I think I had like one crappy ring light. So yeah, it's very, very different, I hope, from what it was. I'm still not any expert, but I like to think I have improved a bit, and just even being more comfortable talking to nothingness. But even when I'm sitting down sometimes, like, I feel like I'm actually sitting with a person. I know that sounds crazy. Like, I brush my teeth and wash my hands before I film. Like, that's lunacy. Especially because I'm in lockdown. I'm not seeing anyone. But anyway, Miss G enjoys it. So I am just really grateful for all the support and everyone who comes to my channel. I'm really, really close to 4,000 subscribers. And as I've said before, at 5,000 subscribers and at 10, I am going to do some sort of L Word, Ash Silver tattoo thing, so make sure that you're subscribing. Also, this episode originally aired on January 12th. It's the 10th today, and just that whole getting up on Sunday morning, because I would always get the episode at 5 a.m. UK time, and especially with 6, 7 and 8 when I was doing it on the channel, I got up at 5 a.m. when it was available, and I would watch it then. And you know, I'd watch it through twice, do my review, post it, and then just, you know, mostly spend the day, like, especially after episode 6 and 7, kind of reading all the interviews and seeing what everyone else was saying and all the L Word groups. So it just, it brought me back getting up today and watching Generation Q, and it made me even more miss just new episodes. And I mean, I've watched Generation Q through a few times now, but even so, obviously, I've seen the original L Word. Like, I could probably recite it to you most of the episodes, but Generation Q is still like pretty fresh, and especially episode 6, where it was such a big deal that Tina was back, and they really, really kept it under wraps. I've talked about before how they did list her on IMDb, and some people, you know, found it and basically were like, it says Laura Holloman's in 2 episodes. But a lot of people didn't believe it, and they really, like, they didn't even give these episodes to the press or screeners, like nothing. So they did an awesome job keeping it a secret, and I'll obviously talk more about Laura Holloman coming back when I'm in the episode. But because it was such, like, that's when I think of episode 6, that's what I think of in my head, is when Bette opens the door and Tina's there, and then, you know, them sitting at the table, and the last scene where Tina is going to leave. And I forget how this episode is really good. Like, I kind of forgot all the Gigi Nat stuff is in this episode, especially because that meme is like of Gigi saying we're not friends. I see that all the time, and I forgot that was in this episode. So anyway, let's get right into it, all of it. Episode 6 of season 1 of Generation Q, Loose Ends. So anyone who watches my retro reviews of the L Word, gonna do something pretty similar to that, where I'm gonna talk about the newbies. Jose and Micah aren't in this episode, and Finley and Sophie have pretty much, apart from Finley has a few scenes with Tess, pretty much together, and then Dani is with Bette and has scenes with Pierce. There's not really any interaction with the newbies. And then talk about Shane and Kiara, Alice, Nat and Gigi, and obviously Bette and Tina at the end. So watching this episode back and knowing, again, when I did episode 6, it was when it was airing, so I hadn't seen 7 and 8. And knowing what happens with Finley and Sophie now, I think that this whole Sophie cheating on Dani with Finley, I mean, I am that is one of the things that bothers me about how Bette and Tina got back together, was that it was through cheating. And it's also, a lot of people who aren't Bette and Tina fans play that they're so toxic, they got, the cheating and all this. And I'm one of those people that I have never, ever cheated. Any ex who ever watches this, I'm sure, can back it up in the comment section. But I have never cheated on anyone, but I have been cheated on. And let me tell you, it sucks. And it's not really the whole, I've talked about this a little bit before with Bette and Tina, and how I really hated the whole thing with the way Bette just, when it happened with Tina, yes, it was, not great. But if she just would have broke up with Jody then and there, when Bette and Tina kissed in She Bar, I'm not saying it would have been better, but it would have been less worse, because it's not, well, this is my opinion anyway, it's not the whole physicality thing, it's the lies and the kind of, this is what drives someone insane. And then you think back to all the times they were together, and when was this going on, and when did it start, and when did the truth stop and the lies start, and it's just so horrible. And just seeing the way they're behaving and all that, I mean, I'm sure some people will say, well, they were still friends then, and there had to be some foundation. Like, you don't wake up and flip a switch from friends to being, attracted to someone or want to take it to that level. So just this whole episode, anytime that they were being really like flirty and stuff, and they were really all over each other when they were drunk, I just kept like feeling a little icky about it. And I do actually really like Finley, and it is kind of Sophie that's in the relationship, but I do really like the character of Dani too. Sophie just isn't someone who really I've felt any sort of connection with the character in that way, and yeah, it was just very messy. Tess and Finley, like, obviously in the beginning they wake up and it's pretty obvious what's happened. Tess immediately, she's like, I need to call my sponsor and everything. I really hope next season that we get more of this, because obviously we saw at the end of the episode Tess was still drinking, and then this does develop a little bit, well, a tiny bit more in 7 and 8. Jamie Clayton has said she's getting a bigger part in season 2, so I really would like to see that whole dealing with, a substance issue and how she deals with it as someone who's sober and working on things that way. And also, I think it's really interesting that, she's sober and yet putting herself in this environment, like she works in a bar, like that has to be really difficult. So I'll be definitely interested to see more of Tess and more of her dealing with this issue. So Dani in this episode, all her scenes are in Bette's house, and she's dealing with the blowback of Bette pushing Tyler, the douchebag, down the stairs. And Dani and Pierce have this really great scene where, well, Pierce actually quits at the end, but he says to Dani, like, this is more to you, and kind of sensing that this isn't, you know, just Dani and Bette being employer-employee. And they had that moment last episode where Bette and Dani are very, very similar, especially if you put Bette at the age Dani is. And Bette really sympathizes with her last episode when she's, you know, basically upset after the whole thing with her dad. So I'm really intrigued next season to see. I like this whole mentor-mentee thing with Dani. I know there's a lot of Dani and Bette people out there that are very, very into the romantic angle of their relationship, but personally, I just don't see it, because I think that would have happened in the original L Word if Bette was in that position, because, hello, Nadia, but surely Bette has learned by now, like, come on, please show some character development and growth. Shane in this episode is just doing what Shane does best, and that's being a really good friend, and especially a really good friend to Bette. You know, they have that scene in the beginning at Bette's house where Alice is rightfully furious that Bette kind of not only lied to Alice, but did it on Alice's very public platform. And honestly, like, I think Alice is totally justified. You know, Bette and Alice and Shane have been extremely, like, you can't even really say friends, like family, for such a long time. And for Bette to lie to her and then to bring the show into it as well, it's just, it doesn't sit good. And the one thing I did find weird though is when Alice is like, why are you looking at her? And she's like, you knew. Why didn't Shane just say, oh, well, I kind of just like guessed? Because, you know, everybody knows Shane is a really good friend and kind of in touch with everyone a bit more and realizes maybe a lot more what's going on, because she's not like a super self-involved person. And I think that it would have softened the blow maybe a little bit to be like, Bette didn't have this big confessional to Shane, like Shane literally guessed. Again, when I saw this episode the first time, I hadn't seen 7 and 8 and what happened with Kiara. Again, feeling a little bit about what happened, because Shane, it's very, very clear, like Shane has said she does not want children. And I just feel like Kiara is emotionally kind of manipulating her, and then kind of using Angie and Shane's relationship with her to kind of pressure Shane. So I think Shane absolutely like loves and is devoted to her wife, but it's clear that she does not want that for herself or for her future. So I just don't think that Shane should be pressured that way. Clearly, I am of the school of thought, like, I'm at the age now where I'm 34, like, when I go on a date, like, first date especially, maybe not first date, but, like, the first few dates, trying to gauge the other person and say, do you want kids? Do you want this? Do you want that? Because, I mean, if I was 20-something, I wouldn't care. But you're at that age now where it's like, I don't want to waste someone's time, or I don't want to get into this situation that Shane's in where I love someone and I'm with someone, but we want two completely different things. So yeah, I don't think this will ever work with two people who want very different things, especially something so crystal clear as kids. Like, there's not really a half measure that you can go to with if someone wants kids and someone doesn't. So, I mean, whatever way the coin lands, one of them is going to be unhappy. Don't get me wrong, the Bette and Tina stuff is awesome and one of the best parts of the entire season. But it's not very happy. So the happiest, like most positive part of the episode for me was Nat, Gigi, and Alice. Like, I love the throuple. Everybody I'm sure knows who watches my channel, Gigi is my favorite character on Generation Q, new character. And also when they were driving in the car, that Gigi, that is how I drive. I totally could relate to her in that moment. And I love Gigi. Like, she can do no wrong in my eyes. And the throuple thing, everything about it, I mean, first and foremost, super hot. Secondly, they're all in their own way. Like, the 3 characters are hilarious. The 3 actresses, love them all. The throuple is just, gives us all such joy. It really was such a standout. But I love it. I really wish that they hadn't ruined it by again, you know, we hadn't seen 7 and 8 when we saw this. So I hope that they explore it again. Honestly, I really, really like Alice and Gigi, but I think Nat got the short end of the stick this season. They didn't really develop her character very much. I really love Stephanie Allen. I think they wasted her a little bit, but that I think is maybe a little bit harsh because they had so many characters and only 8 short episodes to get to know everyone. So hopefully they give both Nat and Gigi a lot more to do next season, and I really, really love both of the actresses, so I'm so glad that they're coming back. And just, yes, please, more Alice, Nat and Gigi, more Alice and Gigi, more everything, please, with those 3. Love them. Okay, let's talk about Bette and Tina. If I still drank and still smoked, I would have a cigarette and a wine before I do this. These 2, I mean... Hey. G, are you ready? G, are you ready? Yeah, she's ready. I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's go. Obviously, the first scene where Bette opens the door and Tina's right there. Again, I was watching this at 5 a.m. on Sunday, and I absolutely screamed. I was sitting there watching it, and G was in her spot, and I was so excited. G was like, "What has just happened?" She was so scared. Amazing. As I said at the beginning of this, they kept this a secret, like, so awesome. Again, I know it was about, I think it was about September, October, no, maybe around October, November, and someone had trolled through the IMDb, and I remember seeing it in the L Word Facebook group, and most of the consensus was, yeah, this is a mistake, I think. And then the reason that I was kind of like, ooh, I don't know whether this is true. I mean, normally I do believe IMDb, and I believed it because of the 2 episodes. Like, it just seemed so odd for 2. And then the only thing that I was like, this is maybe not true, because my thought was that if they were bringing back Laura Holloman, surely they would put her in the season finale. And when episode 6 aired, we knew she was going to be in episode 7 because the trailer was shown right after episode 6, and it was that, you know, Bette, do you want to come to dinner thing. So Tina was in the trailer. We knew she was coming back for 1 episode, but even then we didn't know if she was going to be in the season finale or not, and I was really disappointed that she wasn't. And then also when episode 6 aired, because they'd kept it a secret and everything, the episode, it hadn't actually technically, there was in my memory, the Sunday and the Monday are kind of blurred together, because again, like I saw the episode Sunday morning at 5 a.m. UK time, which is midnight Saturday night Eastern time and 9 p.m. Saturday night Pacific time, and then the actual Showtime episode aired at 10 p.m. on the Sunday. So the Sunday, even though it was available on Showtime, it hadn't technically aired, and they started releasing all the interviews with Jennifer Beals, Laura Holloman, and there was some with the showrunner too, Marcia Lewis Ryan. So everyone was trolling through all of those, and you know, I'll link them in the description box below too. The general consensus in the interviews from JB, Laura Holloman, was, we are so glad that we got Laura Holloman back. Jennifer Beals said, I will take as much time as she's willing to give me. And both of them saying afterwards too in interviews, like, we really want them, Bette and Tina, to be together. We think that they're supposed to be blah, blah, blah. But again, we didn't know if Laura Holloman was just going to be like one and done or two and done, I guess. And the other thing was, literally as I was recording my video, they renewed the show for season 2. And it was a big deal, Tina coming back. They did all this like media stuff with she's back, and they had all the cast members doing the Tina. It was really good. Like I think they did a great job with that. Again, amazing they kept it a secret, and that they had all this stuff ready to go when the episode aired. Like it, great publicity by Showtime, the show, the showrunner. What they did was really good. Now, on to the actual content of the episode. First and foremost, Jennifer Beals and Laura Holloman in this episode basically give like a masterclass in acting, and the fact that they came back after 12 years and they slip back into these roles, their chemistry is still great on screen. They have more range in their facial expressions than like some freaking people do for Oscar nominated performances. And it honestly, still to this day, it is a travesty that they have not been nominated for Emmys, Golden Globes. It's honestly like, is it homophobia? Is it what? Is it because it's a gay show? Like, it is unbelievable that they haven't been nominated. And just, this show is like one of the most groundbreaking television shows to be on TV in the last 2 decades, and has done more for a huge community of people than most 9 out of 10 of the shows that win Emmys and Golden Globes. So, masterclass in acting. They're both amazing. Laura Holloman to come back as well after she's been retired from acting for over 10 years. They're just fab. And, you know, it's obvious to say, but they both look flawless doing it. Like, they are both still unbelievably smoking hot after all this time. Like, they do not age. They are perfect. So I'm going to talk about these in basically like 3 chunks. So the first big scene that we have is when they're sitting at the table, and I did like that they kind of started it out like, you know, Tina's asking about the play and things. Tina is taking these calls, and you can just see the hurt on Jennifer Beals' Bette's face, that she's just like, she knows when she gets up and leaves the room, like she's talking to what we later find out is Carrie. And this scene where Bette kind of tells her, you know, basically what happened the night before, and you can just feel Bette's happiness at being Tina's there, and that's like such a comfort to her. Like, that is exactly who she wants to be there in that moment, the one person in the world. And we get this very tiny bit of time where Bette is just super happy, the audience is super happy, everyone's thrilled, Bette and Tina. But then we move on to the rest of the episode. So when we go back to them, when they're standing in the kitchen, Tina starts saying to Bette, like, oh, I'm so glad you could make space for Angie, and, you know, they go into this argument about basically what they resolved in the original show. I mean, I've said this before on my channel, I'm gonna say it probably again, but if you took season 1 Bette and Tina, and the Carpenter thing hadn't happened, they didn't split up, and you had them together from season 1 throughout the show, and then we came back to this in Gen Q, I could believe this. Tina saying, you know, I felt like half a person and all this stuff. But didn't they work all of this out? And that's why we got them back together at the end of season 5. And then throughout season 6, they were a very balanced couple. Didn't we get this where they're both at different times could lead, and both at other times could support, and also at the end of season 6 they were moving to New York because Bette was taking a back seat to Tina's career for this opportunity. Then it gets even worse. We find out that Tina, who in the original again fought to remain friends with Bette's sister Kit, and even in season 3 when Bette said to her, you don't get to go to, I think it was the recording studio because you don't get like basically the perks of being my life partner anymore, and Tina still went because outside of Bette she had a relationship with Kit and was close with Kit, and she didn't go to Kit's funeral? Are you joking? Are you kidding me? No way. Like, I think that is one of the, I think that is probably the number one thing that I have seen people's kind of, I don't want to say issue, I don't want to say confused. It's just, I've seen people talk about this a lot. And maybe they were using it either as a throwaway line, or maybe they were using it as a tool, or to build more on the Kit thing, to build up to the end. But like I just don't buy it. And when Tina has the scene with Angie, she basically reiterates and fleshes out what she said to Bette when she's saying to Angie, you know, I had to go away to be, you know, a full person. And then Bette goes out, does the speech, says she's staying in the race, and the way that Bette is at the end, I think shows you how this is a different Bette to the Bette from the original, because when she goes out to address the reporters, she doesn't look like Bette. Like, she is in, I don't know whether it's like a robe or like just like loungewear, but she goes out and speaks to the reporters like that. Like, I just thought that was odd. I thought she would have put on her Bette Porter suit. And you do, I mean, throughout the whole episode, like, again, Jennifer Beals just, she is amazing. And you, for every word that's said, like, she's giving you so much more through like her facial expressions and body language and what she's doing, playing against Laurel Holloman. And I think probably the biggest thing that we see that we're kind of dealing with a different, or maybe just older, wiser, more in tune, just not the exact Bette from the original, is the very last scene where Tina is leaving, and when Tina's talking to her and saying, you know, I love you, I'm your family, like, Tina seems happy, and saying it in the way like, you know, we share a child, we're always going to have this relationship. But when Bette says it, like, you can totally just tell that, one, she's like totally still in love with Tina. And when even Bette's walking out to do the speech, there's a minute where she pulls out a necklace and a chain, and she has a ring on it. And I saw people saying, is this Kit's ring or something else? I'm of the opinion that 100% that's her wedding ring, and she's still kind of holding it close, and she has in no way moved on from this relationship, and it was all ended because of Tina's decision. Like, if Tina turned around to her and said, you want to give it another try, like, Bette would be back like that. Poor Bette, man. Poor Bette. This episode just, I feel you, Bette. I have been there, and I can't, obviously, like, I've been in like a minute, you know, this is a 23 year relationship that they share a kid together. And then also, you know, Tina has no family really, and whether they've cut her off or she's cut them off because of the whole, let's not talk about the interrogation tapes. But Bette, you know, her whole family, like, her mom died when she was young, her dad passed away like a long time ago, and he never fully accepted her. And then Kit's dead too. Like, she has Shane and Alice really, and obviously Angie, but, you know, Bette has really gone through it. And so again, the biggest thing we can see that this is a different, maybe a little more broken Bette, is when Tina goes to leave and Tina hugs her and Bette says, please don't go, please. And I mean, Bette Porter is begging her ex-wife to stay because she needs her. That's the bottom line. Like, she needs her. And honestly, it's just devastating. I felt so sorry for Bette in this situation, in this episode. Like, the whole thing with the Tyler Adams guy started off the episode in a bad way. Tina comes back, she's happy for a split second, and then it's just like, Tina's talking to Carrie. Tina's telling her that she takes up too much space. She has to go out and face the reporters. Pierce quits. Tina's leaving. She's talking about Tina not coming to the funeral. It's just like, all the nails in the coffin. Poor Bette. And so that's the end of the episode. And as I said, like, I'm gonna do episode 7 probably tomorrow, maybe the next day. So in the next 2 days it should be up. But that was a lot. that was a lot. And I remember when I put the trailer breakdown up and I was talking in the comments, I'll try and find it and put it on the screen if I do. And everyone was like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. Like, because it's in the trailer, maybe I'll drop it in here, but Tina says, oh, can you go out to dinner, like, just the two of us or something like that. And everyone's like, oh, maybe she's going to try and get back together. And literally I said, I really hope that she's not going to say that she's getting married to someone else. And that's what happened. So, yeah, bad news bears. I mean, if I can just be really, really brutally honest, was I super, super happy to see Tina come back? Hell yeah. But if someone said to me, if we only got one season of Generation Q and that was it, like the 8 episodes, and that was it, the 8 episodes exactly as they were, and that was all we got of the show, I'd be really, if somebody said to me, you can either, if I saw the episodes and they said, okay, you can air this or you can not, I'd be torn, because season 6 was an abomination, and like I wish that we could just erase. But the one good thing about it was they finally left Bette and Tina alone, and they were happy at the end and together. And I just have a hard time with them breaking them up for Generation Q. I mean, I've said before, I think they really could have got clever. If they knew Laurel could come back and do 2 episodes, and they could have kept this up of like the phone or something, and then okay, have Tina in those 2 episodes, or you know, take one of those scenes out and just film a scene and during the 6 and 7 and put it in 8 or put it in 5. So I'm really hoping, you know, again, like this is the first season, the first 8 episodes. We need to really let the show kind of breathe, and who knows what's going to happen in season 2, because we know Rosie O'Donnell's cast as Carrie. Again, I think this was a great casting, because if it was just some Bette clone, it would have made no sense that Tina left Bette. Like, she's going to someone totally different for a reason. So I'm glad that they cast, you know, like a lesbian, to someone who's done a lot for the community and been out open in the community for a very long time. So I'm really, Rosie, I want to get Rosie on the channel, so if anybody is ever in her comment section, you know, drop a little and tell her to come on my channel and tell her to come on the channel. But I hope that they, with, you know, season 2 and hopefully season 3, 4 onward, but I just would have a really hard time if they brought us back and just gave us these scenes where it's like, it's very, like, there's not really a lot of good that comes from the scenes. Like, it's all them arguing about the same things that they argued about in, like, the earlier seasons. Plus, we also know about Carrie is appearing in 3 episodes. We don't know how many Laura Holloman's in yet. We definitely know it's not 10, because she would have been promoted to a series regular, and they would have like put that out in the media the same way they did with Jordan Hall, who plays Angie. She's a series regular now. And I also think if Laura Holloman was in 8 or 9 episodes, that because she has that like huge credibility and of being in the original, they would have made her a series regular if she was just missing from 1 or 2 episodes. So personally, I think she's going to be in about 6. We'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens to everyone in season 2. But I mean, they're filming right now. Super thrilled about that. I just really hope that we don't have to wait too long for season 2, because it's been a year. And when I say it's been a year, as in a year has passed in time, but also it has been a year. Like, what a year, because what a mess this year has been. And we would honestly be getting new episodes now if it wasn't for the world being broken. So again, they went back to filming in November. They went back to filming in July for the first season. So if they stuck to similar schedule, that would have it out in like April, May. The only thing is, I think it's taking them longer to film with COVID, so we might not be looking at anything until September. But who knows? Maybe, like with Tina, they'll surprise us. And for now, that's pretty much it for this episode, guys. As I said, I am definitely going to be doing episode 7. I will try and do it tomorrow or Tuesday, filming this on Sunday. So I'm really looking forward to doing that one too. But also, the dinner scene. Oh my gosh. Am I mentally prepared for it? I'm in lockdown right now, so I don't really know if the dinner scene is good for my mental health, but I will do it for you guys. As always guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, as it really, really helps out the channel. And if you're not already subscribed, what are you doing? Do you not want Bette and Tina content? Honestly, when I look at my analytics, apparently only 20% of people who watch me are subscribed. So subscribe, you're missing out. What if the YouTube algorithm gets rid of me and puts me in a corner somewhere? If you subscribe, you can win an L-word shirt. Come on now. Also, don't forget to check out my merch, and I know some people started getting their stuff this weekend, so if you buy any merch, please send me a picture. I'd love to see you guys, and I've got some new stuff being added this week. Also, the Dana shirt I was talking about, which Deb, she did an awesome design, and there'll be some other pieces coming in soon too. If you're really good at art and design or graphic design, please drop me a message. I'd love to collaborate in any way. And let me know your thoughts, comments, feelings, anything down in the comment section down below. Don't forget, on Fridays I go live at 7 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Eastern, and 11 a.m. Pacific time. And if you want to keep up with everything L-word and get even more content in between my videos, make sure to follow me over on social media. And against all my better judgment and the fact that I am a 30-something-year-old woman, I have in fact got TikTok. So go and follow me over on TikTok. It's always at the Ash Silver, so check me out over there. And if you're on TikTok, make sure to share my Rosie video, because again, I am determined to get Rosie on this channel to answer some questions. So help me do it, guys. Come on. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed going down memory lane to this 1 year ago with me. So I'll be doing other things like this, hopefully, while we are still filling the very long L-word hiatus. So make sure to take care of yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys!